Those of you who stayed up long enough to see a shot of an empty chair last night and went to bed none the wiser, well, let's just say this one's for you. Imagine a world where the internet connected not just people but objects, where a tiny computer was found in everything, from cars to fridges, medicines, even cattle. The potential for gleaning data becomes phenomenal. It's called the Internet of Things. But who cares what it's called? It's going to change life as we know it. Here's David Grossman.
The internet has already changed our world so profoundly that it's hard to argue with the idea that we're now living through an age as transformative, as extraordinary as the agricultural or industrial revolution. And our revolution, the computer revolution, has barely got started.
Up to now, we've had an internet largely made up of people. It's people who post photographs or write emails or do any of the other things we all do with our computers. But the number of things on the internet is going to be vastly bigger than the number of people. And when the things take over, well, our lives are going to change completely.
Today we're somewhere in the region of 10 to 15 billion things connected to the internet, and they will range from the sort of traditional things such as a smartphone, tablet and laptops. But increasingly they'll move to things that we aren't familiar with being connected. An example would be cattle, for example, checking the well-being of the cattle while they're out in the field, through to trees that monitor the environment around them, right the way through to connected cars. And we anticipate that the number of things connected to the internet will grow to about 50 billion devices by the year 2020.
What's driving this are tiny, cheap sensors and computers linked via the internet to vast cloud servers. The use is, well, pretty limitless. Imagine your front door is online and someone turns up unexpectedly from out of town. No problem, you can let them in. Imagine a pot plant that tweets you to tell you it needs watering. Imagine a coffee maker connected to the internet that brews up the perfect cup of coffee because it sensed that you have woken up. And sensors that know when you've gone out, so turn the heating down and the lights out.
One very real example would be something as simple as the asthma inhaler. So this is, very valuable to the person that's using it, but essentially quite a dumb device. Now, the opportunity to connect that to the internet starts to bring together some really interesting data sets, some information about its use. Because this is a device that is connected to the internet, it has GPS tracking on it, and so it allows people to start to understand who's using it, when they're using it, and also where they're using it. So it starts to produce some very interesting data and information around how it's being used, potentially point to some environmental conditions in a particular area.
So how easy is it to put a thing on the Internet of Things? First, we're going to need a thing. So how about the Newsnight presenter's chair? I'm going to need to borrow it for a few hours. I found a company near London's Silicon Roundabout that says it can put our chair on the internet.
Hi, Chad.
David, how you doing?
How are you? I brought the chair. There it is. We want our chair on the internet.
Okay. I think we can help you out with that.
So how would we go about it? What would we do? What do we need to do to our chair? Because, I mean, it's a very nice chair, but at the end of the day, it's a chair. Right, so what do we do?
Well, let's see. First thing we need is a pressure sensor, I think. So, we've got a pressure pad here that basically allows us to detect, are you on it, or are you not?
A bit like a whoopee cushion. The presenters are used to those.
Yeah, so, they are.
Yeah,
Sounds like a fun place. Yeah. So what we're able to do is take this sensor and bring it to this application board.
This sensor will say, is somebody sat on me or not?
Exactly.
Right.
Exactly. We have a little USB port here that we can put power into.
Right.
And then we have a spot here for our little board. Now, what's on this little thing here is actually the processor, and it's a whole Wi-Fi connection device. So the normal Wi-Fi you connect your phone into or your computer into, this will allow you to connect into as well.
That, the size of a postage stamp, is a computer.
Yep, exactly.
A computer that's capable of connecting to the internet.
Yep, absolutely.
That's extraordinary, and that just slots in there.
And it comes right. And so we tie this in, boom, it's connected in. And then as soon as that's done, connects to the Wi-Fi and it's connected to the internet.
Chad Jones is CEO of Zively, a company that helps product designers get their stuff online. So when it's finished, our presenter's chair will be able to tell when someone's sitting down or stood up and then tell the world about it via Twitter.
In the case of what we're doing here, by internet connecting a chair, it seems pretty mundane. Sit down, stand up, it tells you, hey, you sat down, you stood up, and how long. But if you start thinking about that from a healthcare perspective, well, what if we put that inside of Granny's bed inside of her home? So imagine if we can look into that home and see, is she in bed? When's she in bed? How long is she in bed for? And if she's not in bed, where is she and what's she doing? If it's 2 a.m. and she's been out of bed for an hour and a half, there might be a problem. So you need to understand that.
One of the constraints to the spread of the Internet of Things is power. Batteries need either charging or changing. But research from the University of Washington has proved the feasibility of a technology called ambient backscatter. That is, drawing the tiny amounts of power needed to run devices from surrounding radio, TV or Wi-Fi signals. It means that you could bury these sensors into walls, into pipes, into floors, into clothes, in short, into anything.
And it seems there's no way of avoiding this technology. Our homes will be joining the Internet of Things, whether we like it or not. Smart energy meters are being rolled out from 2015. These have the ability to provide the most extraordinary data about our energy use, right down to the models of devices that we're running.
Privacy is going to be a really important point because, do you know what your television is transmitting back? Do you know what your smart meter is transmitting back? I mean, a really great point of this was realized in Germany, where the company behind the smart meter were able to determine not only what devices was being run in the consumer's home, but also what films they were watching.
What films they were watching on their television?
What films they were watching on their television, absolutely. So in many cases, I think consumers are kind of blind to it. They kind of look at the features, but they don't consider actually what are the implications of being connected to the internet.
The government says we would have to consent to giving up our detailed smart meter data, but we probably wouldn't be consulted before the police or the intelligence services got their hands on it. Indeed, the former director of the CIA, David Petraeus, says this kind of data is going to revolutionise the tradecraft of spying. In the future, it seems, your dishwasher will be working for the CIA.
The opportunities for terrorists and criminals will clearly expand. In the 2009 American drama Homeland, the US Vice President is assassinated when his internet-connected pacemaker is hacked. God. Far-fetched? Well, it seems fiction is becoming reality. In 2011, the New Zealand security expert and hacker Barnaby Jack showed how an insulin pump could be hacked to deliver a fatal dose. In July, he was due to appear at a conference to demonstrate how a pacemaker could be hacked when he, himself, tragically and mysteriously died. The Federal Drug Administration in the US has instructed medical device manufacturers to beef up their security. Other areas are vulnerable too. The suspicion is that internet-connected prison doors in Florida were opened by an outside hacker. And on a more mundane level, we've seen an internet-connected baby monitor hacked as well.
We have this concept called the attack surface, in terms of what are the number of systems that you can go and actually attack. What we're seeing is with more devices, more capability, and more importantly, more data, the attack surface is getting bigger and wider. So for the criminals, for the cyber criminal out there, it really does potentially become a field day.
The Internet of Things is already here and will eventually dwarf the Internet of People. We're all going to need to think about security and privacy, but one option we don't have is stopping all of this. Indeed, some believe we're now entering a new phase in the evolution of our planet when the Internet takes its place as another life form. Sleep well.
Thanks for that. And here is the chair.
The internet-connected chair, yes, Emily. We've got it patched into a Twitter feed, Newsnight Chair, at Newsnight Chair, all one word. So, I mean, if you want to have a seat, we'll see if this thing works. We've got the Twitter feed here on this tablet, and if I refresh it there, yes, you see it says, the Newsnight presenter has sat down at 23:14 and 5 seconds in the internet-connected chair. Now, if you stand up, we'll refresh it again, and there it is. The Newsnight presenter has stood up after sitting for 10 seconds in the internet-connected chair.
Doesn't direct message, does it?
Not that I'm aware of.
Fascinating as a Twitter feed like that is, more widely.
Yeah, look, obviously this in itself probably doesn't have that many uses. You could perhaps, if you wanted to, have a huge game of musical chairs with hundreds of participants in lots of different countries, but assuming you don't want to do that, what we're talking about here is a type of technology that's going to revolutionise the way we interact with our physical environment. Tiny little computers connected to sensors, that not just ones on chairs, they could be, you could put them on your pets, you could put them on cows. This could revolutionise elderly care, for example, as was explained in the film. It could allow people to stay in their homes for a lot longer. But what it will do is put far more data out there. And one of the exciting things about this is being able to cross-reference lots of different data sets and draw non-intuitive parallels between data sets.
And 208 people are following that, and now know I've sat down and stood up again. Pretty invasive.
Well, that kind of data is going to be commonplace about lots of different aspects of our lives. What temperature our thermostat is, whether we've left the house, whether our car is, or where our car is, and all that sort of data we've got to guard if we want to take our privacy seriously.
David, thanks very much. David Grossman.